Yeah, of course.
Man, dude, I don't know how people's minds are wired like this. He's so good at never admitting he's wrong about anything and just moving back or moving on to another point. Dude, this is a life skill.
Some issues I obviously, disagreed with some of your takes, but I was saying, even though I disagreed, you were still wrecking strike.
Where's my thing to go faster than 2 times? Holy shit. Do I not have that plugin anymore?
Of listening to like a Nazi and a not Nazi debate, you would point out. So my impression of you, the negative impression I have of you is that it seems like you try to dance on like the both sides line of some issues that there's probably not like 2 equivalently valid sides on. So like I think I noticed, for instance, through your Twitter mentions, you seem like you're a huge fan of Tucker Carlson, which is very strange because a lot of his rhetoric like literally borderlines on like white supremacist stuff, which is kind of strange to me, but. Sure. I mean, I think Tucker has been doing probably the best job on Fox as far as commentators are doing, and even a lot.
Okay, I don't know who else does commentary on Fox. I know that there's a guy called either Mark Shep or Shepard Smith. I don't know why I never get his name right. It's one of those two that seemed to be pretty chill, but he left. And then I think Chris Wallace was on Fox News, who seemed to be an okay dude. I don't know who else is on Fox. This is like a little bit pedantic in terms of like who's the best. Are there better commentators on Fox? Yeah, I know Shep Smith left. I am curious, though, is it worth pointing out like this guy does the best on Fox News if like Fox is like that seems to be a little weaselly because it doesn't really feel like you're saying that like, oh well, he's just the best of all the people on Fox News. It sounds like you're saying he's actually like a decent commentator. I think that's the implication there, but well, I'll look into Tucker's stuff a little bit more.
A lot of people, like folks on the Young Turks, have been praising some of his rhetoric, even though they still think he's like a racist.
The Young Turks is praising Tucker Carlson.
They have, yeah, a few of their videos. I mean, maybe your chat can even.
I hate that he brings this up so much. It reminds me of all of those dumb fuck. I know that Hassan has tweeted stupid shit like this, where these. Oh fuck! It's all. Oh, this is it. I never thought I'd see the day where I say this, but Fox News articles does a fairly good job covering my opinion on this matter. Like there is that, but then there's also basically just it's anytime Tucker Carlson starts speaking out about large companies, which he'll do. Everybody in the left is like, oh my God, Tucker Carlson is actually right about this. He's so right about like large corporations controlling me. Oh my God, Tucker Carlson is so right. And it's like, yeah, this is kind of like a newer Republican talking point. It doesn't make him intelligent. It doesn't make him right. It's not that he agrees with you on anything else. Like, yeah, but like a lot of people today, it's pretty easy to criticize large corporations. You're going to prove that Tucker is a bad actor? I don't know if he's a bad actor. I think there's plenty enough out there to indict him as like being a borderline like white supremacist though. But yeah, we can look up those clips. Oh yeah, this right here. This was the tweet I was thinking of. Thank you. MSNBC and CNN are so fucking dishonest about defending capitalism that this guy who hates capitalism because he thinks it made the country too diverse sounds like the only voice of reason on TV. It bothered me so much. My account is banned now that like people were seeing Tucker Carlson as a voice of reason here or whatever.
Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, is worth about $150 billion. That's enough to make him the richest man in the world by far and possibly the richest human being in all of human history. It's certainly enough to pay his employees well, but he doesn't. A huge number of Amazon workers are so poorly paid, they qualify for federal welfare benefits. According to data from the nonprofit group New Food Economy, nearly 1 in 3 Amazon employees in Arizona, for example, was on food stamps last year. Jeff Bezos isn't paying his workers enough to eat, so you made up the difference with your tax dollars. Next time you see Jeff Bezos, make certain that he says thank you. What about the Walton family? They founded Walmart. Collectively, they're worth about $175 billion. That's more than the entire gross domestic product of Qatar, the oil-rich Gulf state. The Waltons could certainly afford to be generous with their workers. Instead, they count on you to take up the slack. In 2013, taxpayers sent more than $6 billion to Walmart's employees for food stamps, Medicaid, and housing assistance. And if you think that's remarkable, meet Travis Kalanick. He's the youthful founder of Uber. His personal fortune is close to $5 billion. His driver...
Carlson? You mean Carson? Carson doesn't support higher wages. He's saying this shit doesn't mean anything so fucking dumb. No, I know. It's just like a populist bent on shitting on elites. But like my understanding, when I listened to Charlie Kirk speak at Politicon and debate Hassan, Charlie Kirk had a lot of these same lines where he's like, yeah, these corporations are taking advantage of America. We don't like these corporations. Screw these corporations. It was kind of like the same. Or no, it is Carlson, not Carson. Fuck, I'm thinking of. You're right. I'm thinking of. Call me Carson. Tucker Carlson. But yeah, that's not like an uncommon talking point from some of the. And then even even earlier, I've heard Glenn Beck say things sort of like this as well, but these are like from his radio program. It's a longer time ago. I'd have to go back and listen to it, but...
By contrast, often make less than minimum wage. One recent study found that many Uber drivers lose money.
Eric, I know. I'll go through it after. I'm just trying to write down all the claims that Nuance Bro made, and then I'll go back to your document.
The only reason it continues is because of your generosity. Because you're paying the welfare benefits for Uber's impoverished drivers, child billionaires like Travis get to keep buying bigger houses and more airplanes. He's someone else who owes you a thank you note. If you can think of a less fair system than this, send us an email. We'd love to hear about it. This system is indefensible, and yet almost nobody ever complains about it. How come? Well, conservatives like us support the free market, and for good reason. The free market works. But there's nothing free about this market. A lot of these companies operate as monopolies. They hate markets. They use government regulation to crush competition. There's nothing conservative about that, just as there's nothing conservative about most big corporations.
See, like, for Hassan to come away, like, this guy is basically going to do the conservative thing. We're like, yeah, I think that those companies are bad too. The only reason those companies exist is because of government regulation. We need less of it. For somebody to walk away thinking that, like, oh, look, Tucker Carlson is making good points here. No, he's not. What the fuck are you talking about? He's not making good points at all, you stupid fuck. You're just hearing corporation bad and agreeing. Like, yeah, it's stupid. Not to mention the fact that Carlson's probably not in favor of things like a higher minimum wage or more crackdown, like higher tax brackets on, like, yeah, it's such a stupid thing to pretend to agree with him on. But yeah, whatever. This is also really annoying too. For all the leftists in my replies getting upset at me for thinking I don't realize that Tucker is adopting leftist language to promote. This isn't leftist language. This is populist language, right? He's not talking like a lefty. He's talking like a populist that's trying to turn you against the elites. That's it. But whatever. Do you think Hassan probably flirting with the far right wing is not true? No, I don't think so. I think it's just a stupid point. Okay, hold on. Okay.
No, explicitly not. They explicitly not. If you listen to Charlie Kirk, like in any of his debates, they will explicitly say we shouldn't be putting corporations before people. It's a big trend of like the newer conservative movement. That's why they're against things like open immigration and whatnot, even though the Republican Party...
No, Charlie Kirk until like literally a month or two ago has literally been advocating increased immigration, legal immigration.
If this is true, it would be like a massive turn from what his previous positions were.
No, he was advocating for increased H-1Bs. He was advocating for increased F-1 visas. That's where that whole famous thing came about, where he's like, we need to staple green cards to diplomas and things like that. And he wants increased O visas, increased EB-5 visas. That was the whole thing with the Groyper Wars, is that they actually made him flip his position on that. That was one of their successes.
I have to... I know you're wrong, but I have to do the research. Fuck,
no,
I was ready for this.
It's all on video. I mean, that was the thing. Literally,
like, the thing is that like Nick Fuentes and the Groypers, these guys are literal Nazis, like literal Nazis. So it wouldn't surprise me if they were pushing Charlie Kirk because his view of immigration wasn't extreme enough. But I'm pretty sure that Kirk himself is like, so for some of my types, and Charlie Kirk's always supported.
So what Groypers would do is Groypers would show up at Charlie Kirk at Turning Point USA conversations, and Groypers would literally like try to concern troll him or like push him to like literal white nationalist talking points. So like compared to them, he would always seem kind of left-leaning. It is possible that Charlie Kirk has changed some of his positions on these a while ago, but yeah. You should probably add timestamps because he might contest the quotes. Rhetorically, it's more effective for me not to. If he wants to contest the quote, then I'll sit there in silence while he awkwardly goes through the video and then finds the quote and then realizes I was right. I'd rather do that. Fuck that.
Okay, yeah, I guess I'll look into that. Do you think that Tucker Carlson in general is a pretty cool dude? Or...
I mean, it seems like even a lot of people on the left are saying a lot of that stuff. I mean, I don't know if you've been watching the new Hill Rising. Have you been watching those guys?
No, who are they?
Crystal Ball and Sauger and Jetty. They've grown like crazy recently from like nothing to 400,000 subscribers in like a few months.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the Hill.
Like the Hill.
Oh,
the
yeah,
Hill,
I've seen, yeah, big brain support channel, yeah.
Yeah, so they've grown a lot. They've gotten a lot of popularity, and a lot of people on the left, even a lot of Sam Cedar supporters, people who watch the Young Turks and Pal Kalinske and all those people, they all love to watch those guys. Even though someone like Sauger, for example, is a conservative, they still like him because they feel like he's an honest conservative. But when you really look, Sauger pretty much agrees with Tucker Carlson on almost everything. Tucker Carlson used to be his former boss.
Well, like when I've heard like a lot, oh god, this is why I'm so critical of these dipshit lefties tweeting out support of Tucker Carlson, because typically what they're tweeting out support of is usually when Tucker Carlson attacks things like corporations and stuff. Because Tucker Carlson, his like fundamental view is like very much rooted in populism, not like traditional conservatism. He's not like a Bush era neocon.
Popularity and a lot of people on the left,
wait, that was interesting. I actually didn't even catch that. I asked him if he liked Tucker Carlson, and then he started to tell me left-leaning organizations that like Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, so they've grown a lot. They've gotten a lot of popularity, and a lot of people on the left, even a lot of Sam Cedar supporters, people who watch the Young Turks and Pal Kalinske and all those people, they all love to watch those guys. Even though someone like Sauger, for example, is a conservative, they still like him because they feel like he's an honest conservative. But when you really look, Sauger pretty much agrees with Tucker Carlson on almost everything. Tucker Carlson used to be his former boss.
Well, like when I've heard like a lot, oh god, this is why I'm so critical of these dipshit lefties tweeting out support of Tucker Carlson, because typically what they're tweeting out support of is usually when Tucker Carlson attacks things like corporations and stuff. Because Tucker Carlson, his like fundamental view is like very much rooted in populism, not like traditional conservatism. He's not like a Bush era neocon. Like he's very much a Tea Party descendant type of conservative that's not there to be like a massive corporate shill. Like these people are way more concerned with winning the culture wars than winning any kind of economic battle. Like these guys would just assume be socialists if they thought that it served their cultural ends, any sooner than capitalism would. Yeah, paleo-conservatism.
Pretty sure that's true. I don't think Tucker Carlson is like married to the idea of capitalism. Like, yeah, they talk about like free market economics, blah 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 blah. But when you see people start to make like more aggressive, like there is like this. There's this jump that you make where you become like a conservative who is like, you go from being like a conservative into making this weird shift where you focus more on culture than economics or Western values rather than like economic policy. And then it starts to feel like we don't care as much about the economic policy and we start to care more about like the cultural values. And then all of a sudden a whole bunch of stuff becomes permissible. Like, you want to be socialist? You want to be like lefty? I don't care. That's fine as long as we protect Western values. Yeah. So yeah, people, Urk and other people bring up the term paleo-conservative is like one I've heard before. Yeah. But I don't know. I know that this is what Nick calls himself. It's a political philosophy and a variety of conservatism in the United States addressing Christian ethics, nationalism, paternalism, regionalism, and traditionalism. Paleo-conservatives' concerns overlap with those of the old right that opposed the New Deal in the 1930s and 40s, as well as with paleo-libertarianism. I don't think that these guys are as much caring about, like, free markets as they are about, like the culture stuff. Yeah, so they're in favor of like trade tariffs and protectionism. Economic nationalism is an idea that favors state interventions over other market mechanisms, with policies such as domestic control of the economy, labor, and capital formation. So they're not like hardcore laissez-faire free market capitalists or whatever. But yeah, okay. What populism and populist rhetoric? You mentioned being against elites. Is that it? My broad understanding of like populist rhetoric is that basically populism is like saying like all these big guys, all the establishment is your problem. Well, let me show you the way out. It's basically like populism refers to a range of political stances that emphasize the idea of the people and often juxtaposes this group against the elite. The term developed in the 19th century and has been applied to various politicians, parties, and movements since that time, although it has rarely been chosen as a self-description. Within political science and social science, several different definitions of populism have been employed, with some scholars proposing that the term be rejected altogether. So like populism doesn't necessarily imply any positions. Like you could be a right-leaning populist, like I would say Trump is. You could be a left-leaning populist, like I'd say Bernie is. Populism could mean you're incredibly racist or incredibly multicultural. Like it just depends. Just like I think it's the idea of basically of pitting yourself against the establishment, of all the establishment, and saying all of the establishment is lying and is there to fuck you, basically. But like populism is usually devoid of like any good ideas. It's usually incredibly simplistic. Usually like, oh, like these groups are all against you. It can be highly conspiratorial. Like, yeah, I'm not a big fan of that kind of idea. Hold on, I'll be back. I find it's easy to think of populism as a rhetorical strategy instead of an ideology. Well, it can be an ideology, though, because it can manifest itself in, like, policy as well in ways, right? So, like, for instance, like drain the swamp, like, defund the EPA, blah, 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 blah. Like, all these things the CDC are horrible because they're all the elite organizations against you, right? It can it can be the manifestation of populist ideology in a way, right? Be right back, 1 sec. All right. We're 10 minutes through this. Fuck me.
And I've heard to describe these people as well. But yeah, I have noticed a lot of dipshit lefties like Hassan and Kyle Kalinske have been tweeting things like, oh wow, Tucker Carlson is actually speaking a lot of truth here when Tucker Carlson is coming out against like massive corporations being abusive in their power.
Sure, yeah. So
like,
that's what I was referring to.
Yeah, sure. But the foundation of this, like Tea Partiers have always been kind of on that slight anti-corporation binge. Like ever since Glenn Beck, was heading that movement, 10 years ago, like Tea Partiers have always
well,
kind of
Glenn Beck kind of attached himself to that already pre-existing movement.
Yeah, he did. But they hijacked that shit like pretty well. But it felt like they always had like a pretty they weren't.
This could actually totally just be my bias because of what I listened to as like growing up. I really did feel like Glenn Beck was one of the like spiritual leaders of the Tea Party movement. Do you think that was true, or do you think that was really off base? I remember like Glenn Beck holding like rallies and stuff. Actually, I guess we can just wiki for this. Let's see. No, not this. Tea Party movement is an American fiscally conservative political movement within the Republican Party. Members of the government have called for lower taxes, for reduction of the national debt of the United States, the federal budget deficit, government spending. Movement supports small government principles and opposes government-sponsored universal health care. The Tea Party movement has been described as a popular constitutional movement, forcing a mixture of libertarian, right-wing populists and conservative activism. It has sponsored multiple protests and supported various political candidates since 2009. According to The American, Enterprise is very opposed to 2013. Estimates that over 10% of Americans identified as part of the movement. The Tea Party movement was launched following a February 19, 2000 call by CMC reporter Rick Santelli on the floor of Chicago for a two-party. Several conservative activists agreed by conference call to coalesce against President Obama's agenda and scheduled a series of protests. Supporters of the movement segmentally had a major impact on the internal politics of the Republican Party. Although the Tea Party is not a party of classical, some research, the members of the Tea Party caucus vote like a significant farther right third party in Congress. Major force behind it was the Americans for Prosperity, a conservative political advocacy founded by businessman and political activist David Koch. It's unclear how much money is done. So it seems like the Tea Party is pretty fiscally conservative in terms of their goals. Maybe because I listen to Glenn Beck more than other people, maybe I focus more on the like spiritual end of that, I guess. Look up the Restoring Honor rally. Yeah, I remember that Glenn Beck did so many of those rallies. He had multiple ones of these, right? Rallies that he did. The Restoring Honor rally was held on August 20th, 2010 at Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. It was organized by Glenn Beck to restore honor in America and to raise funds for the nonprofit Special Operations Warrior Foundation. Billed as a celebration of Americans' heroes and heritage. Beck's speech urged Americans of all religions to turn to their faith in God, turning our face back to the values and principles that made us great. Beck's and Palin's speeches praised George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and Martin Luther King Jr. The attendance at the rally was disputed. A scientific estimate placed the crowd size at around 87,000, while media reports varied wildly from tens of thousands to 500,000. Divine Destiny meeting. Ooh. March 2009, Beck put together a campaign, the 912 Project, which is named after 9 principles and 12 values that he says embody the spirit of the American people on the day after the September 11th attacks. The Colorado 912 Project hosted a Patriot Camp for kids in grades 1 through 5, featuring programs on our Constitution, the Founding Fathers, and the values and principles that are the cornerstones of our nation.
Like the traditional neocons of the Bush era. Like these were like a newer breed of Republican that were more concerned with like religion and culture than they were with like capitalism.
Is that a newer breed of Republican, the religion and culture aspect? Isn't that a more older breed of Republican?
Well, I mean, depending on how new or how old you want to talk, sure. But like the Bush era, like Republicans, like the neoconservatives, I think were usually marked by their like obsession with like laissez-faire economics and free markets and trickle-down economics.
Well, if anything, those are literally the new conservatives, neoconservatives. I mean, those are the new types of people who came into the Republican Party in what, like the 80s or whatever. Like they're a lot newer than the sort of more traditional conservative Republican types, right? Well,
just because something is new in it doesn't mean it's the newest thing, right? Like you had like neoclassical movements in like the 17th
Democrat type people. They're usually more sort of socially liberal. They don't really care about the religious conservative aspects. They're more sort of like Warhawk type people.
Yeah,
that's a lot newer.
Well, I don't know.
Republicans.
So broadly speaking, my impression of the Republican Party is that they were less outwardly obsessed with things like religion and culture in the Bush days as they are in these days. I don't know how I would even begin to measure something like this. You can just look it up. How? Pew polls? Well, because I think I'm looking for like politician points of views. I don't know if I care too much about this particular thing.
They're pretty anti-war, and they got elected on anti-war platforms. Even George W. Bush was elected on sort of a non-nation building platform.
When Bush Sr. was in the Gulf War, was this true?
I don't remember the early days of like George Bush getting elected. We can look this up now.
George W. Bush.
Yeah, but like, why would you assume that George Bush would be any less hawkish than his dad? That seems like a weird. I don't remember that far back because I was pretty young, but that seems like a weird platform that Bush Jr. would have ran on. Was I'm not going to go to war like my dad does. But yeah, anyway, I'm sorry. Yeah, I feel like the Tea Party movement always was more fixated on like things like culture and small government, kind of, rather than like an obsession with corporations and capitalism. That was more of like a 2000s Republican view. But then like 2010 onward, there's been this kind of schism in the party. People like the Freedom Caucus in Congress, and then like the Tea Party, and then eventually like the rise of Trump and everything.
Yeah, that's not the sense I got from the Tea Party. I didn't really feel like they were really that focused on culture as much. It seemed like they were more, almost in a way, like this libertarian sort of small government type people.
They always said that, but like they put up people like Michelle Bachmann, who says that like masturbating is immoral. I don't know. If maybe I have to go look at more Tea Party centered candidates, but I always felt like culture, like good white American Christian culture, was always really important to the
No, that didn't really seem to be what they were mostly focused on. It seemed to be more like, oh, the big government is infringing on my freedoms, Obamacare, individual mandate type stuff. That's kind of, I mean, it's the Tea Party.
I'm basically only talking from my Glenn Beck experience, and Glenn Beck was so hyper fixated on like traditional American values and shit. So it's possible that more broadly speaking, maybe the Tea Party was just like a fiscally conservative movement, and I'm just thinking back to like my Glenn Beck days. I'm not sure.
Okay. Do you want to actually? I'm curious. So this is a good conversation topic. Do you want to have like a talk about Tucker Carlson, like in the future, like a week from now, or whatever? We can do it.
Not really.
No, because like I've heard so much. I wouldn't write like a big Tucker Carlson, but like I've heard so much stuff that like he's like a hardcore like white nationalist now. Like he took a big bend on like defending Western culture and civilization and shit, to where like some of the rhetoric he has is indistinguishable from like Richard Spencer now. So it's really curious. That we have, like,
So I'm pulling a lot of this from a compilation video that I remember seeing, and then one or two other interviews that Carlson has done that made me really think. I'm not gonna be able to find it. There's something that like goes over like a bunch of his fucking quotes, and like some of the rhetoric that he gives is like maybe this video got removed. I don't know where it is anymore. And then I know that he had like a Groyper congressperson on his show once. It's been so long since I've watched these. I don't remember every single thing. He's super white nationalist. What's a Groyper? Groyper were like Nick Fuentes fans that would show up and. He said immigrants were making America dirty. Tucker, oh fuck! I should have this stuff archived. Immigrants make America dirty.
Now to Fox News anchor Tucker Carlson.
So there are a lot of divisions on the left, not often aired in public, but they do disagree with each other. If there's one issue that unites almost everybody on that side, though, it's immigration. And the principle they've united behind is that anybody from anywhere on the globe should be allowed to come into the United States, no questions asked. If you don't believe that, pay attention. For example, look at the theater surrounding the recent migrant caravan.
All of this for a group of people, a lot of whom are mothers and children, who pose no imminent threat.
The President of the United States has decided that a couple thousand scared, sick, people fleeing violence are a bigger threat to the United States than ISIS.
Guess what, Ben? It's in our laws that people are allowed to come to our borders and ask for asylum.
So this is a new thing. It seems like they've always had this view, but no. Many of the left used to be skeptical of mass immigration, partly for economic reasons, because it undermined the wages of workers. But there were others, many others, who had environmental concerns, too, about letting a lot more people into the country. Phil DeFar was the author of How Many is Too Many, the progressive argument.
That thing about how immigration undermines the wages of workers, that's not like a traditional conservative position. Like I think traditionally Republicans have generally been okay-ish with immigration. I think, even though I think they've come out rhetorically against it, but they don't take many strong stances against it because like immigration helps like a lot of businesses and shit. And that's what I've heard. We should go back and look up. I should double check policy positions on that. But that's like a common claim I've heard levied at the conservative party from people like Fuentes, who's like, you guys are always saying that like you're against immigration, but then you never do anything about it because you guys are benefiting from it because large corporations love immigration because it benefits big business.
Reducing immigration into the United States, and he joins us. Mr. DeFar, thank you very much for coming on. Having you is the result of a long nationwide search to find someone with your views, because I remember so well as a kid that Democrats were really concerned, some were, liberals, about overpopulation and the effects on the natural environment, and I always kind of agreed with that. Tell me your concerns about mass immigration and its effects.
Holy shit, what? I've never seen this interview before. Immigration's effects on the natural environment. now we're tree huggers? Interesting.
Well, Tucker, I'm not sure I'm the last liberal in the country who's concerned about immigration-driven population growth, but we are a minority among environmentalists. I'll give you that.
Yeah. So I see like the Sierra Club, which used to care about the Sierras. Huge fire breaks out in the Sierras last summer, started inadvertently by illegal immigrant, or the degradation of marijuana farming in Northern California, which really does poison the soil. And they say literally nothing because their concern for open borders overrides their concern for the environment. What is that about?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. If you go back to the birth of the environmental movement 50, 60 years ago, there was so much concern and focus on population issues because people saw the connections between overuse of resources, between too much pollution, and the sheer numbers of people. And environmentalists used to talk about that. I think what happened between then and now is back then, most of our population growth was coming from the number of children we were having, Native Americans. Whereas today, population growth in the U.S. is primarily driven by high levels of immigration. So people, for whatever reason, weren't as comfortable saying we needed to limit immigration as they were saying we need to limit how many kids we have. I think that's a mistake, though, because either way, you're driving population growth, and that has environmental consequences.
So, but quickly, I wish I had more time for this because I think it's fascinating. I would urge people to buy your book on this. What's the response you get from your fellow liberals when you say, wait a second, there are environmental effects of letting all these people in? What do they say to you?
Well, mostly what I get are people who, most people say, well, I didn't realize that. I hadn't thought about that. Because as you say, environmentalists have stopped talking about it. But the responses really run the gamut from, how long have you been a racist to, oh, thank you so much for talking about that. I've been thinking that myself, and I'm just not comfortable talking about it.
Exactly.
So it's an interesting thing to talk and write about because you do get such a wide range of responses.
Yeah, I mean, spend a week in a crowded, dirty country and you'll find out you don't want to live in a place like that, I think. Phil, thank you very much.
A crowded, dirty country. Jesus. He's so good at this.
So there are a lot of divisions on the left, not often aired in public, but they do disagree with each other.
Oh, this thumbnail. It's actually zero-sum game, though. It's moving populations around, not growing it. Yeah, that's interesting, too, but, yeah.
But let's just get back to the text. I agree with you on this. Words matter. I think these words actually, whatever one thinks of Trump or his shortcomings, these words are important. And the words themselves are offensive to many on the left because they're considered nationalistic or chauvinistic, exclusive. They somehow put Western civilization above other civilizations. And my argument would be, if you're a leader of Western civilization, you ought to believe it's superior. And the left doesn't.
This
Why
is
not?
not, well, first of all, that's not true. But this is
not true.
This is not just about Western civilization. Now, let's take Sebastian Gorka. Sebastian Gorka is...
No, I'm not going to take Sebastian Gorka. I want to talk about the ideas here, and you're off on some other...
No, not Sebastian Gorka. Hold on, Tucker. Sebastian Gorka talked about this speech before it was given. He said it was a speech that extolled Western civilization, which is fine, and Christian values. But those two terms put together are a dog whistle to white nationalists. That what we're really talking about is Christian, European, and white.
But this is a country founded on European culture, and it's so appealing that tons of people from Africa and India and Latin America who are not of European ancestry want to come here because they like the ideas. So you believe this country is racially exclusive and the ideas it's founded upon are racist, but all these people from the third world don't appear to believe that. They want to come here because it's a great country because they agree with the values it was founded on. And my question is, why does the American left not agree with them on that?
I believe that everyone should look at Western civilization, Judeo-Christian values, as a beacon to the rest of the world. What Donald Trump believes, Tucker, is that we should ban Muslims from coming into the country. He believes that Mexican immigrants are racist and murderers. He believes that...
Come on, can we just have an adult conversation really quick? Let me just ask you, I know Trump is bad, but let me just, these are real questions, okay?
Yeah, sure.
So Europe has had a culture, a distinctive culture, a series of them for like thousands of years. All of a sudden, a ton of people move in who disagree with the tenets of that culture, and they're changing it.
Okay. We should spend like 2 days and bring on... I don't even know what to say to this. Well, I don't understand. And maybe this is just me now because I've traveled more. I don't understand when people say that Europe has a culture. What the fuck does that mean? Like, Germany was very different than fucking Poland, which was very different than fucking the United Kingdom. And I was only in London in the UK. And I know that London... I shouldn't even say the United Kingdom because England is going to be different than fucking Scotland and Northern Ireland and fucking Wales, which is way fucking different than fucking the Swedish people and the fucking other Scandinavian countries. When people say European culture, what the fuck does that mean? Like... Has he ever been to any place in Europe ever? Like, even in fucking Germany, like the difference between like the drug and culture, the drug and party scene and shit, in like Berlin, like felt way different than fuck, where was I? Lapsid? What the fuck am I thinking of? There's a city in someone will know it. Leipzig. Yeah, Leipzig. Versus like being the small town that I would go to Home Story Cup for. Krefeld, like an hour from Dusseldorf or whatever. Like all of these places are like pretty distinct. The idea that there's like this one consistent unifying like European culture, not to mention the fact that like, and this is something that I barely know fuck all about, I didn't realize from 1900 to 2000 how insanely fucking bloody and violent European history was outside of World War I and World War II. You motherfuckers were killing each other all the fucking time. I thought, just because I fuck history, because I always figured that like when you guys fought in like the 1500s, 600s, 700s. I didn't realize you guys were doing this crazy fucking shit all throughout the entire 20th century. Holy shit. Like, even the Good Friday Agreement in Ireland and shit wasn't until 96? What? This is not what I'm looking for. 1998. You guys were fucking throwing bombs and shit at each other over fucking walls and stuff. What the fuck? There was so much shit going. The idea that like, it's funny because you're talking about like Europe is on fire because of immigration. I think Europe has just always been on fire because you guys just literally always fucking killing each other constantly, like all the time. There's so much conflict across the entire I mean, like, obviously it's been significantly curbed now over the past, like, 30, 40 years since, like, the European Union has been introduced and people have been more chill and everything because large corporations of trading blocks and everything are beneficial for people. But, like, holy shit. Yeah, I don't know. Like, whenever people say, like, European culture, I don't know. I wish people would just be a little bit more specific, I guess. There were like 3 genocides in Eastern Europe during the 1990s. Yeah. They mean the good ones. They're projecting the American idea of whiteness onto Europe. Would you say there is a shared Middle Eastern culture that shares basic core values? If so, would you not say the same thing about European culture? I don't think you could say that for the Middle East. I don't know if that's true. Like, even within countries, like, and I'm sure there are people that are well more versed than me, like, even in Iraq, it seemed like there were, like, and this is, like, my history is not my strong suit, but even in Iraq, I think there were fundamental differences between Sunni Iraqis, Shia Iraqis, and people from the Kurdistan regional government, the KRG, the Kurdistan Kurds, right? That, like, that's just in Iraq, that there were, like, pretty distinct differences between these three groups of people. And I'm sure that it's the same probably across almost every country in the Middle East. Like, the idea that, yeah, I don't know, like, I think that we tend to paint with a very broad brush sometimes. Yeah. Destiny asks, most Iraqis are Sunni, but the leadership for a long time was Shia. I thought it was the other way around. I thought most Iraqis were Shia and the minority was Sunnis, but the Ba'ath Party under Saddam Hussein I thought was Sunni. I thought that was how it went, unless I have that mixed up. Baathism is secular, but yes, Saddam was pro-Sunni. Yeah, well, I mean, Ba'ath was supposed to be secular, but in practice they were all Sunnis, weren't they, generally? Wasn't that why a lot of the population was kind of irked, is that they were basically being ruled by a minority? This is the video you're looking for on Tucker Carlson.
Did you celebrate Columbus Day?
Oh, this was the video I was looking for. Oh, this is a way smaller video than I thought. So the guy on the left, Jared Taylor, this guy is like an avowed white supremacist. Like, he's just like he'll say, like, yeah, well, actually, he wouldn't say that. He would say he's a white nationalist.
Pepe, the leftist grift on Twitter is unreal. These morons could cost us the election.
They're not going to cost any election.
Fuck you, grifters.
Don't worry about that.
Go fuck yourself.
Did you celebrate Columbus Day? Well, enjoy it while you can.
Happy Columbus Day anyway. Enjoy it while you can. Your grandchildren won't even know it existed.
Recently, Los Angeles, Cincinnati, Boise, and Detroit all dropped Columbus for Indigenous Peoples Day.
In LA, the city council has voted to rename Columbus Day Indigenous Peoples Day.
This year, even the city of Columbus, Ohio, which is named after him, said it just couldn't afford a celebration.
But it seems to have spread to, again, normal places like Columbus, Ohio, which is a great town, actually, filled with normal people. How did it get to Columbus?
Renaming Columbus Day Indigenous Peoples Day implies that white people should never have come here.
What does that mean? You don't have a right to be here, neither did your ancestors. We hate you. You get the point.
White people turned a wilderness into the richest, most powerful nation on earth.
I mean, they turned it into America, which to this day is a beacon of hope for the world. That's why everyone wants to come here. So you're trying to delegitimize that.
We're back to the same old con game. It was evil for white people to come here, but it's great for everyone else.
Christopher Columbus, his crime, violating the sovereignty of the people who lived here already. Plus, he was the wrong ethnicity. Now try making that argument about any other immigrant to America and see how long you keep your job.
So you think it was wrong for us to have come? Well, fine. Would all those newcomers who love to tell us how awful we are want to stay if the place was still in the Stone Age?
Things are, in fact, better on this continent than they were 700 years ago in case of democracy and penicillin, and the internal combustion engine didn't make that obvious. Far less human sacrifice and cannibalism.
This isn't about Columbus and a few statues. It's a denial of every shred of American culture, tradition, and history that can be traced to whites. And the sooner we recognize that, the better.
So when they come for the Columbus statue in your town, it's worth fighting back, because it's not about the statue. It's about something much deeper. Is our strength, they screech, as if that settles the conversation by itself, like a magic talisman.
Diversity. We hear about it nonstop. It's the mainstream.
Do you think this person, like, overexposes themselves on camera to make themselves seem more white? Do you think? I don't know.
Motto.
How precisely is diversity our strength? Since you've made this our new national motto, please be specific as you explain it. Can you think, for example, of other institutions, such as, I don't know, marriage or military units, in which the less people have in common, the more cohesive they are? Do you get along better with your neighbors or your coworkers if you can't understand each other or share no common values?
The problem comes from people who are different in race, language, religion, ethnicity, trying to share the same territory.
Look at Great Britain, look at France, look at Sweden. They have massive terror, crime, and
This video would be better without the insane fucking bass drums going off in the background, but okay.
Border problems and cultural assimilation problems for one reason. They imported a bunch of people from a part of the world that doesn't share their values.
Look at the history of multiracial nations. It's a history of conflict, it's a history of distrust, and it's ultimately a history of blood and tears.
Latin American countries are changing election outcomes here by forcing demographic change on this country at a rate that American voters consistently say they don't want.
That's not true. I've looked at polling data for this multiple times, and even on the Republican side, most people don't think that the racial composition of America is a problem, unless there are other polls that I haven't seen about this. But I think I've looked at, there was a Gallup and a Pew poll that asked people, like, how important is the racial makeup or whatever of people that immigrate to the U.S.? Are you using left-wing?
As far as, like, economic policies, as far as what they believe is, you know, he believes in more of, like, that sort of left-wing thinking when it comes to how society, well, not necessarily how society should be organized, how government and its role, you know, how that should be. Like, he's kind of, like, it seems like he's actually quite a big fan of people like Sam Cedar and Rational National, David Dole, and people like that. I've noticed he follows those people, not should be. Like, he's kind of, like, it seems like he's actually quite a big fan of people like Sam Cedar and Rational National, David Dole, and people like that. I've
Who is Rational National and Data Dole? Are these other? Who are these people? The Rational National and Data Duel? I don't know who that is. Oh, David Duel. I don't know who the Rational National is. I'm guessing this guy's probably not a white nationalist. We have so I don't think he does this. I don't know if he does this intentionally. It's hard to say. There's a very interesting rhetorical trick being played here. Okay, people play hard and fast, or fast and loose. Not hard and fast. Fast and loose with definitions sometimes. And it's incredibly effective. I'm trying to think if I could spin an example of this on the fly. I don't even know. Well, I should be able to. I'll think about it. Hard and loose, fast and loose, hard and loose, fast and hard and loose, hard and loose, hard and fast. I feel like I've heard combinations before. First we have Richard Spencer is on the left wing of white nationalism. So what we're playing fast and loose with here is, what does left wing mean? Richard Spencer is on the left wing of white nationalism. So this causes some red flags immediately. It's like, well, hold on. Richard Spencer left wing? Well, what do you mean there? And then he clarifies, as far as economic policies go. Okay, maybe. If you want to say just economic policies, I can kind of let you slide on that, sure. So we go back and we take our earlier understanding of Richard Spencer's left wing, because when we think left wing in the United States, we think like Democrats, right? It's like, oh yeah, the Democrats, liberals, progressives. Wait, Richard Spencer's one of those? You're trying to draw an association that's bad. But he clarifies, he's like, no. I just mean left wing like economic policy. Okay, I can let that slide. But then he goes right back into our earlier assumption of what left wing is by saying, it seems like he's quite a big fan of Sam Cedar and the Rational National. Sam Cedar is Jewish, right? That's my understanding. Richard Spencer is anti-Semitic. Which definition of left wing are we going with here? What's the purpose of saying... Now, unfortunately, these are things that I could never really call him out on because, like, well, technically everything I said is true. It is. But the implications being made here are, like, all over the place. Like, initially, we've got left-wing just as an economic thing, but then we're saying other left-wing people he's a fan of, like Sam Cedar. It's like, well, what are you trying to draw the comparison there? That doesn't make sense. It's very strange. Yeah, that's an interesting rhetorical thing, but I might ask him his thoughts on that. But I know he can, like, escape that in a lot of different argumentative ways, but we'll see.
Notice he follows... those people, not even negative.
Well, that might be true that when we talk about racialized ideologies, those typically stem, or they typically are supportive of like authoritarian systems, which is more typically found further to the right on the spectrum than on the left. Although I guess
I mean, authoritarianism is not exclusively a right-wing thing.
It doesn't have to be, sure. But
I like how he counters my points, even though I'm qualifying them. Authoritarianism generally falls on the right-leaning like spectrum, typically, that rather than the left-leaning one. It's like, well, it's not exclusively on the right. Well, yeah, that's what I just said. It's typically more found on the right. Theoretically, it could be left-leaning, depending on your flavor of communism, I guess. or socialism or something.
But in terms of like where the political spectrum today lies, it tends to be the thing that you're more likely to find right-leaning people that bend towards authoritarianism than left-leaning people that bend towards authoritarianism.
I mean, what are tankies, right? I mean, that's
tankies are politically relevant in every single part of the world. That's what tankies are. Whereas like fascist types are more increasingly relevant across European governments and then even the own United States government.
I mean, you can still say aspects of left-wing thinking can be considered authoritarian. I mean,
yeah, of course.
Man, dude, I don't know how people's minds are wired like this. He's so good at never admitting he's wrong about anything and just moving back or moving on to another point. Dude, this is a life skill. Like,
I mean, you can still say aspects of left-wing thinking can be considered authoritarian. I mean,
yeah, of course.
Like, there are left-wing authoritarians and right-wing authoritarians. There aren't really any relevant left-wing authoritarians. Well, what do you call tankies? I mean, they're not relevant anywhere. Right-wing. Okay, well, there are aspects of left-wing that's like he just completely like sheds it. He's like dumping the wet on a squat. He's just like walking forward. He's like, oh, see it. I'm done with that. Anyway, so as I was saying before, it's like, holy shit, that's so insane.
Of course, I've argued against it for the past year. Yeah, of course you can. I'm saying in terms of like when somebody says, "Oh, like white nationalism, that's left wing." Well, it kind of doesn't really make sense to say because
no, I'm not saying white nationalism is left wing. I'm saying there are white nationalists who are right wing and left wing. Sure. Being racist is not an exclusively right wing thing. You'd certainly recognize that there are communist countries that have been pretty racist as well.
So again, playing like loose with the definition here. So being racist is not right wing. There are communist countries that are racist, sure, but communism isn't typically what we mean when we see left or right wing, at least in the context of American politics, and definitely not when we're referring to people like Sam Cedar.
Yeah, but in terms of how the ideologies line up in today's world, the more racialized ideologies tend to be pushed on the right, unless you want to make arguments like, well, affirmative action is the same type of racism as, you know, deporting all Mexicans or calling Mexicans, you know, like MS-13 gang.
No, it's not the same. I don't think it is. Mm-hmm. But, you know, you could say, like, for example, the type of racism in South Africa, more of a left-wing perspective.
Sure. I mean,
I don't know if that's true or not. Fuck, they'll jump around to like every fucking country, find an example. It's like, the racism in South Africa is more left-wing. Was apartheid? Was that really like a left-wing idea? We should read more into this. I'll read more into this. Or I wonder if he says that's left-wing racism just because it's black people, or maybe because it's wealthy farm owners, or yeah, he might be talking about that. I don't know. But I don't know what makes that necessarily left-wing, but okay. He doesn't mean apartheid, he means post-apartheid racism with the political party of the EFF.
I guess it just, yeah. I mean, none of this is really relevant, though. I mean, to my original contention was just that it seemed like Tucker Carlson is going on like a white nationalist bend. I mean, whether we want to call it left wing or right wing, I guess it wasn't really.
I can certainly see where people would get that, and trust me, I mean, when he has people like, you know, some of these people who are running for Congress, I'm sure you know some of the people I'm talking about, and he had one of them on his show.
Oh, one of the gripers, didn't he?
Yeah. I mean, did he know who that was? I don't know. I mean, never had him on ever since then. I think sometimes maybe he's just not super aware all the time. I mean, it's very possible, right? I mean, CNN had Richard Spencer on pretty recently, didn't they?
Yeah, but what was the context of him being on?
I don't exactly remember. But
we need to look up both of these. I want videos of both of these. We looked them up a little bit during the debate because I thought, fuck, he's saying so much stuff that I feel is just wrong, but I don't have like the sources offhand. But I knew this one was so fucking wrong. I knew it was so wrong. I had to go and look the video up for it.
It didn't seem like they were engaging in any sort of like real, like they weren't trying to inform the audience of, hey, this guy is a bad racist person. I don't know. I don't remember the exact clip, but that's actually another thing I wanted to talk to you about because I feel like.
Well, wait, real quick. I'm sorry, hold on, just to be clear, sure. Right? Like, I mean, like it's pretty important because you're trying to say that like CNN is platforming.
So like this is where writing stuff down helps. So he's saying they weren't trying to inform the audience that this guy was a bad racist person. White supremacists celebrate Trump's racist tweets. Like.
Richard Spencer. This is what I mean when I say the both sides thing. You're trying to say that CNN was platforming Richard Spencer in a similar way that Tucker Carlson was platforming pretty avowed white nationalists.
Don't put words in my mouth. I didn't say they were platforming
that's what you're
him
implying.
in a similar way. But I'm saying it's not.
I didn't say that they were platforming him in a similar way, but he literally said maybe Tucker Carlson's not super all the time. CNN had Richard Spencer on pretty recently. You are saying they're platforming in a way. He literally did just say that. Like, or he implied it as heavily as you can without directly saying it, right?
It doesn't have to be the same for them to still be doing similar things. You know what I'm saying?
Well, but yeah, you're
this is my favorite quote ever. It doesn't have to be the same for them to be doing similar things. Wait, what is it? What does that mean? Wait, what?
That they did a similar thing in platforming Richard Spencer as Tucker Carlson did platforming a Groyper. But my guess, I don't know.
Well, it is similar, but I had a better example I wanted to...
It's similar, but not the same. What does that mean? What? I mean, it's not the same person. It's like...
actually give you, but it's kind of related to a
I'm just
different topic.
in looking through like the little lines or whatever at the bottom of the video with Richard Spencer, I guess on CNN, like it's literally saying like white supremacists celebrate Trump's racist tweets. So it's like I'm not gonna listen to this video on stream, but I'm willing to guess that like these probably aren't like positive spins of Richard Spencer. Like when Spencer's on stream, it's saying white nationalist who once backed Trump calls Trump's racist.
Well, no, he
tweets
calls
redneck.
himself those kinds of things. I mean, that doesn't necessarily have to be viewed as a negative thing. If it's really designed more as a jab towards Trump, isn't it?
Wait,
It's
so
not
you-
even...
So remember, his original claim was they weren't trying to inform the audience that this guy was a bad racist person. He calls himself a white nationalist.
You don't
to
think
bash
that
Richard Spencer?
You don't think that in a mainstream American media right now, labeling someone as a white nationalist isn't a negative thing?
I mean, I think it's generally considered in society at large to be a negative thing. I don't think Richard Spencer thinks it's a negative thing. He's not feeling like he's being attacked or anything like that. But
when
he's
I'm-
getting his ideas out there in a sense. But they're using it more as like a cudgel against Trump.
Sure, which is a lot different than bringing on a white nationalist to support as a run for Congress, right? These are massively worlds apart differences, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Sorry. Go for it. What were you gonna say?
That sure at the end. I don't know if I should bring this up again. He essentially, I think he kind of concedes the whole argument there, and that sure at the end.
I wanted to bring up a topic where I feel like a lot of times when a lot of these groups are, I don't know if you put yourself in this category, but a lot of like the leftist sphere, they always focus on racism from white people, and a lot of times they'll even come up with this language that racism from non-whites is not even possible in the United States. You would call it something else or whatever. But when we talk about platforming ultra racist people, it's all about doing it in a responsible manner, like kind of what you do. I actually enjoy a lot of your videos. I like watching your exchanges and putting people in their place, dunking on them, whatever. But you look at a program like a mainstream program with millions of people. It has reached the Breakfast Club. I'm sure. Are you familiar with this?
No, but hit me up. What's up? What about
It's the Charlemagne the God.
Oh, yes.
Why am I still subbing?
Yeah, they have Louis Farrakhan on, and in the background he puts up his books. It's something about what's the name? Like something about the Jews or like they control the world or whatever. Like he gets to promote his books.
Is he
on
part of
their radio show.
the Nation of Islam?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, and he's on their radio show, and they're not having him on in the context of you're a racist guy, you have bad ideas. They're like laughing with him, they're getting along with him, totally cool. Do you ever see any of these shows like the Young Turks or Sam Cedar or even mainstream media ever? Like this is a guy with huge reach, millions of people, probably the biggest.
Wait, oh my god, I wasn't
crowd. He
listening.
puts
Okay,
up-
I literally can't watch chat because I am starting to read shit. Okay, sorry, fuck. I can't look at you guys.
People, and a lot of times they'll even come up with this language that racism from non-whites is not even possible in the United States. You would call it something else or whatever. A topic where I feel like a lot of times when a lot of these groups are, I don't know if you put yourself in this category, but a lot of like the leftist sphere, they always focus on racism from white people, and a lot of times they'll even come up with this language that racism from non-whites is not even possible in the United States. You would call it something else or whatever. But when we talk about platforming ultra racist people, it's all about doing it in a responsible manner, like kind of what you do. I actually enjoy a lot of your videos. I like watching your exchanges and putting people in their place, dunking on them, whatever. But you look at a program like a mainstream program with millions of people. It has reached the Breakfast Club. I'm sure. Are you familiar with this?
No, but hit me up. What's up? What about
It's the Charlemagne the God.
Oh, yes. I
Why am
remember.
I still subbing?
Yeah, they have Louis Farrakhan on, and in the background he puts up his books. It's something about what's the name? Like something about the Jews or like they control the world or whatever.
First of all, okay, so I don't want to say this in the conversation because I don't know. The Breakfast Club, isn't that just like an early morning like talk show, like radio talk show, or whatever? This isn't like a political podcast, is it? Or am I wrong? Maybe it is. My understanding is that like they do like a lot of like music and pop culture and shit. This isn't like a. It's a music talk show. Okay. Is this the one where Is this the one where the guy talked to? I mix up Charlemagne the God and someone else a lot.
AM.
Who was the guy that was talking to Kanye West when Kanye West was talking about, I ain't got the answers, Shay? Or Sway? Sway? I ain't got the answers, Sway? Oh, that's Sway in the morning. Okay.
Or why don't you?
I probably have these shows like mixed up in my head because obviously I don't listen or watch any of these people. The Red Elephant. Don't link his shit in my chat. I don't care. That dude is a literal like, not Nazi, but like ultra racist, ultra white nationalist guy. I don't give a fuck about anything he has to say about anything. That's the Binder Andy guy from the gun debate. He almost went full Jewish question. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Vincent doesn't believe in the actual Holocaust story. In fact, I would bet money that he doesn't. He probably thinks that the numbers are highly exaggerated. He probably would say the Holocaust is horrible and at least 150,000 Jewish people died, but everybody was committing war crimes in the world, like standard like Nazi revisionism or whatever. I don't know if the guy's a full-on Nazi, but I know at the very least he's a white supremacist. I don't know what his stance is on like the Jewish question and shit if he thinks about that. I don't know if you know, but Vincent is one of the primary people who was coordinating the Groyper stuff with Nick. Nick was telling Groypers to send their questions to Vincent. Oh, okay. So he is a full-on Nazi alt-righter. That doesn't surprise me at all. Okay. He seemed more like a typical MAGA dumbass. No way, dude. That guy rapid fires white nationalist talking points out, dude. Remember when he was holding up, like, explain this graph, and it was like number of violent shootings in like Wyoming and Vermont, and he was like, now compare that to Detroit and Chicago. Now look at the percentages of black people and black gangs. Dude, that guy was, oh yeah, what about Boise, Idaho? That dude was super fucking racist. Insanely fucking racist. It wouldn't surprise me if he was a Nazi, yeah.
Well, don't you think there's a problem in the black community with racism that's never called out? Disproportionately to other groups?
Not that I'm aware of.
You're not? Really?
What do you mean by racism from black people?
Okay, for almost any sort of bigotry, just disproportionately. We know that it's a problem with the gay community where blacks seem to be disproportionately homophobic towards...
Wait, okay, yeah, sure. So this isn't racism, so we're moving on to other forms of like...
I know, but it's different forms of bigotry. It just seems to be more prevalent in the black community, and it feels like nobody ever talks about that. You're not even allowed to talk about that.
I think that's been a pretty big conversation in the black community. A lot of it's centered around
within
rap
the black community, but you almost never see it discussed.
The most aware of this I am is like the word fag was used a ton in a lot of different rap, and I know that there were a lot of people that were there were huge debates for a long time in the black community over whether or not you should have homophobic slurs in your in like rap songs and stuff. I know that was like a big thing for a while. I don't think that rappers have that as much anymore. I think that's I don't listen to like a modern rap, but I don't think that's like as much a thing anymore. Although I could be wrong, but the content of rap songs has changed like crazy. Sure. His Heart Pumps Kool-Aid was also a big one. That's pretty old though, right? Are you going to put your sources somewhere? Yeah, I'll put it on this document. I'm just like, right now I just want to go through all of his claims, questions I should be asking about it, and then we'll go and we'll do research. So do these YouTube revisionists believe in the shit they spew, or is it only for their audience? I'm a bit new to the political scene. Not Tanky, I promise. Donated $5 and I said, I don't know anymore. I don't really know who believes what. It's really hard. It feels like everything is like, it feels like nobody believes anything actually. Like the deeper and deeper I get into things, it super makes me wonder. I'm not sure. Yeah, I really just don't know. I don't know anymore. Because it seems like nobody has principles that they actually live by. Nobody actually, like, and people's positions can change. I don't know. I just don't know. I would like to think that most people believe in what they actually say, but... Doesn't the heart pump Kool-Aid thing just mean you're weak because you don't have real blood? My understanding is that heart pump Kool-Aid is, like, the idea that you're sweet, which is, like, another thing for being gay. Is kind of like what that... I don't know how true that is. I'm not familiar with as much of that shit, but... There is still more pushback against the homophobia in the rape scene.
God's not dead. He just turned into money.
You mean rap scene? But it's still highly rampant.
Why do we keep switching from racism to homophobia?
Let's keep it to racism then. Why not?
Okay. Yeah. So then the question is,
you don't think there's a disproportionate amount of...
There's a disproportionate amount of what? Your mic. I'm sorry. Oh, anti-Semitism?
Yeah.
From black people?
Yeah. This has been shown in the ADL statistics as well.
Somebody was linking this. The way that he took this out, I think, is like very wrong. But we'll look into this.
I don't know if black people have, like, even if they wanted to be, like, even if black people all got together in the U.S. and wanted to do a second Holocaust, I don't know if they have.
Fuck, I can't. We'll look for it later. Somebody quoted it, and in the ADL, the largest segment of anti-Semitic groups, they just had it grouped as like black gangs. But that wasn't like the largest part of the graph. And they had like, they didn't have a section for like white gangs, but they had like KKK, neo-Nazis, like all of these other groups picked out. They just grouped like all the black ones. I don't know why the ADL did their report like that. Somebody had a subreddit post on that, but we can look into that more. Or I mean, we will look into that more.
Okay, I'm not trying to minimize. You're tone policing so hard right now, right? So like, there might be some, well, no, because you're like,
government policy and a huge Holocaust. It
No, well,
doesn't-
because we've shifted the conversation from like why do we generally have conversations about like why white people oppress black people, right? Well, because one, slavery, right? That was a big thing that happened. Two, because of like Jim Crow era laws, that was a big thing that happened. And then now we're dealing with like the fallout and the repercussions of that. That tends to be what most of the conversations follow because one, there are major governmental institutional policies that still exist around that, arguably stuff like the war on drugs, and because two, there are large swaths of the population that are still dramatically impacted by the fallout of all of that today, right? The massive like single parent black homes, like massive black people are still under poverty. Like, these are issues. So this is what we're talking about. So when you try to like tone police, like, well, why don't they ever bring up the fact that sometimes people that belong into the Nation of Islam, they go after Jewish people? Like, okay, I mean, yeah, that's not even talk about. Really?
It's not. You also have the Black Hebrew Israelites. You realize that disproportionately, even according to the SPL,
Black Hebrew Israelites members. How many people are in this group? Like, how many are in the United States? Does anybody know? In the mid-1980s, the number of Black Hebrews in the United States was between 25,000 and 40,000. I wonder how many KKK members in the United States today. It must be below 100,000, right? It can't be that many. Like actual KKK. Third clan is 5 to 8,000. Okay, so this is pretty small today. What about like neo-Nazis? Does the ADL like list all of these? SPLC has good stats. 22 million Americans support neo-Nazis. Wait, what the fuck does this mean? Oh my god. Washington Post ABC poll was carried out in the wake of the deadly racially charged violence. It extrapolated the entire US population. 9% would equate to 22 million people.
Like female genital mutilation shit. Like I'm more concerned with like what is my president saying right now versus like going through the ties of different people in the Democratic Party.
Yeah, this is somebody linked this going through. We'll go through the actual like ADL thing too. This is where he gets like black supremacists are like the largest types of like hate groups in the US. But like for some reason, why does this? Oh god, I hate Chrome. It's such a shit browser now. Sorry. For some reason, the ADL has like black separatist is like listed as like the largest like organization groups here. But then you've got like KKK. I don't know what general hate means, but like white nationalist, neo-Confederate, racist skinhead. I'm guessing most of those are white. Neo-Nazi. But since black separatist is the largest, like it looks like it's the biggest one here. Like I don't know. Well, again, we'll look into it. Yeah, he did say proportionally. General Hyde is like the Proud Boys? Oh.
True?
a lot of times, yeah.
Okay, even if that was true, which is, I don't think it is. Okay, sure. Even if that was true, why call it the Chinese flu? Why not just call it COVID-19? Like, he's literally crossing out on the paper where it's written as like COVID-19 and calling it the Chinese flu. Why? Or the Chinese virus.
Well, first of all, the Chinese are actually lying about where the virus was coming from in the first place. They're literally saying the U.S. Army brought it.
Who cares what the, so because the Chinese are doing that, we're going to do things that furthers violence against Asian communities in the U.S.?
I've heard about this, but I don't know how widespread the claim actually was.
Well, hold on, but we just talked about how disproportionately the violence against Asians has been coming from people who are likely not even Trump supporters.
It doesn't matter if they're not Trump supporters or not.
Why is it called Ebola? Is there like some region or some city or some place that I have no idea why we call it Ebola? It's a river? The Ebola River. Gotcha. Apparently they called it Ebola. They were going to name it after, assuming this is a Live Science article, maybe it's not true. Apparently there was a small town or a small village where the virus had first surfaced, Yambuku, and they were going to name it after the village, but they didn't want to stigmatize the village or like cause people to be racist against like a certain group of people, so they decided to name it after a river instead. Yeah, interesting. Huh. How ironic.
I mean, even the West Nile virus or Lyme disease.
Okay, what is the argument for calling it? Why call it the Chinese virus? Can you give me a good? Why would we do that?
Because that's where it came from.
But nobody says that's how you should name viruses, right? The CDC.
Hold on, the media was literally calling that in the beginning. They were saying it's the Chinese virus.
They were saying the Chinese virus. They were saying like the Wuhan, China virus because that's where it was at that particular point in time. Okay, so let's say that the media made a mistake. Okay, do you think Trump should perpetuate? Because now everybody's saying they want to call it something different. You're not giving me an argument. Like, well, in the past we've done it. Well, the media did it originally. Why right now, if violence is being committed against Chinese people, well, Asian people in general in the United States, why continue to call it the Chinese virus? You have the option to call it COVID-19. Why can't you just come out and say, yeah, maybe you should just call it COVID-19? There's no good reason to call it the Chinese virus. Why are you so intent on defending a bad name for it?
I don't think it's a bad name. I think if that's where it's from, and it's from a government that lied to the world, and it created this problem, then yeah, you should probably call it the Chinese virus. Now I understand why he's changed since.
I should have picked up on this way more. So initially he's trying. Oh fuck! I can't believe I missed this. That was actually a really big thing that he said. So he's trying to give reasons why scientifically we name viruses the things we do. But then as soon as he feels it's like that's not as good an argument, he pivots immediately to, well, the government lied to us. So it is about punishing the Chinese. Why not just say that at the beginning? It's not about like scientifically should we or should we not name it. It's because you wanted to name it. It's because you want to punish the Chinese. But I didn't pick up on that in the conversation. General Knox, I don't even remotely care about this right now.
And now he calls it the invisible enemy or the invisible scourge. Okay, whatever, but I don't think it was a bad name to begin with.
What, so should we rename the swine flu to the American virus? Or like,
well, no, swine flu came from Mexico.
Mexico is part of North America. Should we call it the Mexican virus?
I thought swine flu came from some fucking farm in the U.S. I don't remember where this is. In 1998, swine flu was found in pigs in 4 U.S. states. Within a year, it had spread through pig populations across the United States. Scientists found this virus had originated in pigs as a recombinant form of flu strains of birds and humans. Separate confirmed the pigs serve as a crucible where novel influenza virus emerges as a result of the reassortment of genes. So this was the 1998 swine flu. 2007 outbreak. Oh, the 2009 outbreak. Swine flu was initially seen in the U.S. in 2009, where there was a strain of particular virus was emerging from 3 different strains. Huh. So do we even know where the very first one, the H1N1, has managed to establish the evolutionary origin of the flu strain? However, genetic coding of H1N1 shows it is the combination of segments of 4 influenza viruses coming from forming a novel strain. North American swine. Oh, so they already have a North American swine designation. Pig origin flu, North American avian, bird origin flu, human influenza strain, Eurasian strain. Wait, I'm sorry. Wait, is there any evidence that did the swine flu come from Mexico? Where did the swine flu originate? In 2009, a swine flu outbreak originated in Veracruz, Mexico.
Frog face, blue heart.
But the swine flu already existed prior to that. So how? Oh God, fuck. Okay, this all goes in the reading list. Because so like, is the 2009 outbreak, is that related to like the 1988 outbreak? Like, was that an evolution of that strain, or it jumped from pigs to humans? Swine flu is a type of disease. So is the one in 2008 related to the 1988 outbreak that started in the U.S., or related to the 1918 flu pandemic? The Spanish flu? Like, swine flu is a colloquial name. Where did the Spanish flu start? Where did Spanish flu originate? We don't know, I think. Okay, so this idea here of him calling it the Mexican flu has no bearing whatsoever when he says that swine flu started in Mexico. That's total bullshit. Well, maybe the 2008 scare, those first cases were reported in Mexico. But in 1988, the first ones were reported in the US. In 1978, so you can't say like swine flu started in Mexico, right? They're both H1N1, just different strains. Okay, all right. Also, what the fuck does recombinant mean? Does that literally mean different viruses are coming together and forming new viruses? Is that possible?
Well, when you said America, you meant the United States.
I don't know. I mean, it could mean either thing, right? If we're just naming it where they come from.
Come on.
No, come on, dude. You're doing this. This
because
is
he said MREs. Fuck, I should have picked up on that because MREs is literally Middle Eastern. That's not named after a particular country after a state. I should have used his own example back on him. Fuck.
We eventually started calling it. Wasn't that swine flu?
Yeah, initially sure, but then we started calling it H1N1, right? Initially we did, but then we changed it. Like at one point in time, people thought the Earth was the center of the universe. Do you think we should just do that?
I don't know. Towards the end, were we calling it H1N1 or swine flu more? I feel like I heard H1N1 more than swine flu, but that probably would come down to like what you were listening to, huh? I feel like I heard H1N1 said more than swine flu though, but I could maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah,
the original SARS virus, this is the SARS-CoV-2 virus, the original SARS virus, because they're very similar, it's also been shown to eliminate viral load in those studies.
So, man, I guess this is just something else. Man, I wish people are so comfortable making assertions that like, I'm almost positive it's totally lies. Like, so like, here's like trial chloroquine to treat COVID-19 stopped early due to heart complications. They haven't even gotten some of the trialing when they actually tried to test this drug because of like all of the dramatic side effects for this. My understanding, and I know that I looked at this specifically because Elon Dumbfuck Musk was also talking about it as well. But there were like, yes, but there were like 2 different trials.
He's known for being super dumb.
He is actually. He's known for being incredibly fucking stupid.
This guy would be like this guy is such an Elon fan. I could tell just from the conversation. I know he'd be a fucking huge Elon fan.
Billion-dollar company.
What does starting multiple billion-dollar companies have to do with medicine?
Been studied on people for other purposes. Now you're talking about COVID-19. You're talking about people, especially when we're talking about populations that have really high risk of mortality, because we've seen how this works on people. It's like it really is like what the president said. What do you have to lose if your chance of dying is already high? And this has been shown to be, at the very least, just promising. Why wouldn't you give at least the patient the option to choose? That's like that right to try.
Well, because if we're using a medication that has limited supply, we don't want to be wasting it on patients. What we haven't shown.
It's not limited supply. They secured millions of doses.
Fuck. We just read stories. I think a week or 2 ago, that literally people were literally not able to get like fucking drugs from a pharmacy for their arthritis because people were buying out like hydroxychloroquine and shit. Yeah. Or yeah, or lupus patients being told they may have to go without their medication because of COVID-19. Yeah. But okay.
Okay. I don't have this. I don't have this information offhand. Like I can look this up. I would love to revisit this conversation in a week. But like 99% of the time, I get stuff like this thrown at me, and I look it up later. Everything is being like so horrendously misrepresented that it's just not true. Like I've read so many things recently about how hydroxychloroquine. There's just not this data to support it as being like this safe medication.
We're finding the evidence that shows hydroxychloroquine is this super dangerous drug. Apparently,
not super dangerous, but
it is super dangerous. 11 people died in that Brazil study. 4, I think, of the people that died weren't even like at high risk for side effects. It was either 4 or 7. Like. Yeah, there were 11 deaths, but like some of them even came from low risk groups where you wouldn't expect them to die. They canceled the study. How many were in the study? It was like 70 or 80.
Okay. But anyways, like I was saying, he was on a network. I can't remember if it was the Al Sharpton or Jake Tapper, but he was talking about some sort of oh man, I'm trying to remember. He was engaging in some sort of hypothetical. It was the hypothetical, and this is like super dishonest too. He was just saying, they're like, if we acted earlier, do you think we would have saved more lives? And he said, yeah. And it's like, and then the media tries to spin that as Trump didn't act early enough, therefore Fauci says we lost more lives than we needed to. Do you think that's a fair thing to say?
Yeah, it's incredibly important. Of course, we live in a democracy. We need to hold our leaders accountable.
Okay, let me ask you this: is there any country on the face of this earth where that doesn't apply?
Or what doesn't apply?
Where acting earlier would have saved less lives?
The problem isn't.
The United States and South Korea had the same day first case reported. We both had our first case of coronavirus reported on the same day. South Korea had 232 deaths from coronavirus, and they're pretty much done with it now. The United States is climbing past 40,000. I don't know where we stop. I've heard that Germany had a really good response too. I haven't looked at any of their numbers though. Oh, Germany had 4,642 deaths, 140,000 cases. What is Germany's population? It's 83 million. I heard that a lot of Southeast Asian countries had a really good time dealing with this, like Vietnam, Taiwan, New Zealand, Australia. Does Australia count as like Southeast Asian or New Zealand? Do people say that? Are they considered like SEA? I know they are for like game servers, but are they considered like that region? Oceania? Different continent? I know they're on a different continent. Southeast Asia. Oh no, it doesn't look like it. Okay. Okay.
Was not to. It's not that you could have imagined it.
When earlier exactly?
I mean, we could have done something about the stockpile of N95 masks and respirators when we ran the contagion virus project like earlier this year in 2019.
What date are you talking about?
I'm not gonna give you an exact.
Fuck! I hate that he pushed. I need to not be so shy against people like that. Normally, when I'm in the middle of a conversation, I don't like being like, "Give me a source, bro. Give me a source. Source me that, bro." Because people accuse me of doing that, but I really never do. Like, I try to like take you at your word that you're like honestly summarizing shit. But when people are like, "Give me the date. What is the exact date that we should have started? Give me the number of these people. Give me the exact like fuck. Like I don't know this shit off fucking hand, dude. I don't have this like." If this is a debate that I'd like especially prepared for, then yeah, I'll throw whatever the fuck you want at me. Like my Eric Striker debate, or my Mike Enoch debate, or my fucking, Lawrence Southern, Nick Fuentes, like debates that I super prepared for. Yeah, whatever source you want, but I will fucking source you. But I don't have this fucking shit. This is like an off-the-cuff conversation. Like I can't tell you the exact fucking timeline that Trump should have gone for.
Oh, first of all, first of all, I don't know why you're going into victim snowflake mode over people calling Trump names. That's not the question, okay? Number one. Okay, the question isn't like, oh no, did people call Trump bad names? I don't care. He's the
I'm talking
president.
about the names. I'm saying
No, you are. You just were talking. Don't gaslight me. You were just talking about people calling him names. I'm not talking about what did Biden say. No, you are talking about. You just brought it up. It's part of. Yes.
The reason I bring it up is because they were against it.
I don't care that they were against it. They're not the president. That's not why I'm looking at the act. I don't care what Biden's opinion was on fucking.
He's the person running against him for president. He's a major figure in the Democratic Party.
Holy shit! It's like, what about Obama? Like, wait, why are we talking about Biden now?
What is Biden can't do anything about this. He's a fucking candidate in the Democratic Party for president. Why would we bring up Biden? I don't fucking care what Biden has to say about this right now. Like.
You're saying he acted late.
Yes, he waited until the WHO declared anything like an outbreak in China or declared anything like a pandemic in Europe. He didn't make any moves until after the WHO made these declarations. While simultaneously getting on stage and saying the WHO was late, but I was on time early.
When did other countries ban travel from China?
I don't care about other countries. That's what I'm asking. No,
relevant.
No, it's not relevant. No,
perform relative to other countries doesn't matter.
Not in this case. Like, the criticism
well, it does matter actually, because what we're asking here is, did Trump outperform or not outperform other countries in terms of travel bans? The question shouldn't be whether or not the travel ban is what we did. It's what else do you do. The travel ban in the grand scheme of things, I think, is like a red herring. I don't think travel bans matter that much, especially when we were so late to ban travel from Europe, and especially since the virus could have already been here. It was the other steps that we needed to take in the meantime. The idea that we should have been creating tests far earlier. We should have been preparing our hospitals far earlier. We should have been enacting social distancing measures far earlier. That was our problem, not when we banned travel from China. But I think we get to
whether or
this
not he
later.
acted before some European countries. The criticism I have of Trump is that he knew that there were problems with the United States dealing with a pandemic-type outbreak. This is something that was established. He knew that we had a shortage of supply of things like N95 masks, things like ventilators, and he took no actions against any of these things. And then he was pretty late on like getting people to quarantine, on coordinating response from the federal government, to schools and restaurants. That all these things were handled in a pretty piss-poor manner. That's my problem. Now, whether or not like Sweden is handling it correctly, or Italy.
When did the WHO even say that this could be transmitted from human to human? You remember?
On January 30th, the WHO declared a global public health emergency.
The next day, Trump banned travel from China, dude.
Yes, after the WHO declared it. But he wasn't early on anything. Like, you just said that.
A few days earlier, they said it couldn't even be transferred human to human. What are you talking about, bro? What do you expect from?
Wait, hold on.
What are you talking about, bro? What do you expect from him? What are you talking about, bro? What do you expect from him?
I don't expect him to after the WHO declared it. But he wasn't early on anything. Like, you just said that.
A few days earlier, they said it couldn't even be transferred human to human.
I think that was way earlier. I think they initially said that there wasn't evidence of it, but I'm pretty sure they changed that view like weeks before Trump banned travel from China.
What are you talking about, bro? What do you expect from him?
I don't expect him to simultaneously criticize the WHO for being late while bragging that the U.S. was early, when Trump literally waited until after the WHO declared a world health emergency.
They're carrying water for the Chinese government the whole time, and they've been doing.
Also, I don't think the WHO was saying that the virus isn't transmittable from person to person.
Yeah, they were citing a Chinese study and saying.
And very, very early, they said in a preliminary thing, they said that there was no evidence at this time, but it was still under study.
Show that this can't even be transmitted human to human.
Saying this can't be is such a strong claim. Fuck, I wish I was familiar with all of these on the fly. Fuck me, dude. I hope he agrees to a second conversation. This was the, whoops. This was the tweet. Oh, wait, does this not work? Can I not copy paste this? God damn it. The tweet, I think the tweet, I should read it verbatim. The tweet was, I don't want to paraphrase it because the exact wording is important, but I'm pretty sure the exact wording is like, there is no clear evidence of transmission, I believe is what was said. Wait. Preliminary investigations conducted by the Chinese authorities have found no clear evidence of human-to-human transmission of the novel coronavirus. I think that's a bit different than saying they said it can't be transmitted from human to human. I feel like one of those claims is way stronger than the other, especially when it's like preliminary investigations conducted by Chinese authorities have found no clear evidence of human. I feel like this is separate. Also, this is on January 14th. They revised this position way before Trump did his travel ban. But
I could find you the tweet if you want.
Sure. I mean, like, we had cases in the U.S. like weeks before Trump even like did this travel ban. Like, the idea that he was on top of this.
We had 0 deaths when Trump did the travel ban. Not even a single death.
But we had cases. So what? We're supposed to wait.
How many cases did we have? Do you know?
I don't know exactly how many. But I know the first case was
like 50 cases in the entire U.S.
Well, that we like tested for and knew about. That's kind of how this works, right?
What else do you expect, dude? That's the only metric you can go by. Are you supposed to close off?
I think we should have been testing more. The wording is better in the news release that it's from. Additional investigation is needed to ascertain the presence of human-human transmission, modes of transmission, common source of exposure, and the presence of asymptomatic or mildly symptomatic cases that are undetected. It is critical to review all available information to fully understand the potential transmissibility among humans. Oh, sure. So even that's not. Fuck. I hate all these people. Okay.
Travel to all countries in the world once you have just 1 case or 0 cases.
So are you supposed to wait until? So do you wait until? If it's not transmissible to human, how do we have 50 cases in the United States?
Huh?
If it's not transmissible to human, how do we have cases in the United States? Was that flying around fucking
WHO? Dude,
no, I'm asking you. You were saying we only had 50 cases in the US. We didn't know it was transmissible from human to human. How is that logic consistent?
I'm saying the WHO put out that information.
I don't think anybody seriously believed that. I don't think
So they didn't. This is just a lie because we're going by a misreading of an initial tweet, and it doesn't even deal with what was. So this isn't even true as per the tweet. 1, and then it's definitely not true as per the statement. 2, and all of this was still revised before Trump even did the travel ban. So everything here is just wrong.
I don't think it was like a mainstay WHO position, but I mean, like, we can. Okay, I can look at what did Trump do in the 2 months between the Chinese travel ban and the European country travel ban? What did he do in the United States to prepare for this?
Things from chat now?
No, I'm not. I literally, like, I've looked at this timeline of this over and over again, like, because I've had to argue this against a million different troubles that are trying to like say, oh no, Trump handles it in a perfectly fine manner or whatever.
I don't know why you can't just like address the point that we're talking about. Like, I don't know what, like, you're talking about me defending Trump all the time. Why are you defending the WHO? And there's shitty actions.
Speaking of pivoting, okay, I'm not defending the WHO at all. So my question is, what did Trump do? So the overall conversation right now is, did Trump do a good job in preparing for the coronavirus? That's the conversation topic.
Let me be a little nuanced about it. I don't think Trump did a good job against the handling of the coronavirus between about when was it? Like late February to like mid-March. I think he did a bad job. How about that?
So the most important parts were dropped. So this conversation topic started off with Trump did what he could, and now we've moved from that to, well, Trump completely dropped the ball in all of the actual important parts, but he nailed the travel ban early. But he didn't actually, because now we know that that's not necessarily true either, because at least 40,000 people traveled back into the United States from China after the travel ban went into effect.
Sure. What did we do in the months? Sure. What did we do in the months between banning travel from China and banning travel from Europe?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, then why are you mad when people criticize him for not acting early enough to start dealing with this?
Oh, I'm not mad. Listen, I'm not mad about people. I think people distort the facts. You were talking specifically about the China ban being too late. That's what I think is ridiculous. So,
so that's what I'm asking is, like, it feels like Trump was pretty late on most of the stuff. Maybe, I guess we can argue or say that, well, the initial Chinese travel ban might have been okay. What about everything after that?
Okay, I'm trying to look up active cases here in the United States on this graph, the worldmeters.info. I can't go back further than February 15th for some reason. It's telling me 12 active cases February 15th. I feel like it was higher, but yeah, that's kind of crazy that they're saying it was this low February 15th, and he cut off travel from China in January 31st.
Well, yeah, of course he did, because he did it
Why are we bringing up? It's amazing that we cut off travel from China when the cases were so low in the U.S. We weren't testing in the U.S. We have no idea how many cases were active in the U.S. Fuck me. Wait, let me make sure I'm understanding this correctly. It feels like it's literally. It feels like I'm literally talking to this.
It exploded. The core exploded. He's in shock. Get him. K-reactor cores don't explode. Akimov.
It's the end of the month. All the productivity.
Fuck, I don't want to find the quote. It's only 3.6 rotogen. It's only 3.6 rotogen. It's not great, not terrible. There are only 50 active cases. It's amazing we activate. You're not testing for them. Of course you're not going to have many active cases. Let me make sure I'm hearing this right, though. One sec.
February 15th for some reason. It's telling me 12 active cases February 15th. I feel like it was higher, but yeah, that's kind of crazy that they're saying it was this low February 15th, and he cut off travel from China in January 31st.
Well, yeah, of course he did, because he did it after the WHO.
I don't know how
you keep pivoting back to him doing this after the WHO declares a global public health emergency. What I'm asking is, what did he do between the Chinese travel ban, the months between the Chinese travel ban, and banning travel from Europe? What did we do between then? Did we start stockpiling ventilators?
I think he did a bad job there. That's been my position.
Okay, then why are you upset when people criticize Trump for not acting decisively enough when it comes to dealing?
I'm not upset. I'm upset when you say he decided to do the China ban too late.
Because that's ridiculous.
Okay. Oh man, dude. Oh god, he's so good. So my initial criticism was that Trump's response to this has been completely fucking butchered. Was my initial criticism, but now my entire position has been shoehorned into. You're mad that he didn't do the China travel ban early. That was the so he just, and I don't even perceive this. So he restates my entire argument as, you're just mad that Trump didn't ban travel from China early.
When people criticize Trump for not acting decisively enough when it comes to dealing,
I'm not upset. I'm upset when you say he decided to do the China ban too late, because that's ridiculous.
You think my only
and I totally miss it. I'm not even.
Doesn't matter how Trump has handled this, is when he decided to do it.
Even Fauci came out and said what Trump did saved lives, and he did it. We didn't even recommend that to him. Like, he did that on his own.
Okay, so then the only thing you want to argue here specifically is that Trump banned travel from China at an appropriate time, but every other thing relating to how he dealt with this pandemic has been a massive failure. But that one thing he did, you think he did an okay timeline. If that's your position, then yeah, I guess I can agree with that, sure.
Hold on. When did the WHO declare a global pandemic? This is your claim.
So the WHO declares a global public health emergency on January 30th of 2020.
So and then the next day, Trump issues the China travel ban. That's too late.
Okay, no. First of all, you're hyper-fixated on this one travel ban, okay? So if
I just want to say...
No, if I grant you that, let's say I grant you, okay, well, he did do that in time then. What did he do after, before we banned travel from Europe? Why weren't we comparing...
Hold on. Well, you agree then that he did it very quickly before pretty much anybody else.
I don't know if there was anybody else, but sure, I'll grant you that. Sure, he did the Chinese ban in time, sure. So,
and then all the stuff in between, I already told you I agree with you that he handled it properly.
Okay, so then we agree then that maybe he banned travel from China at an appropriate time, but every other part of dealing with the pandemic was an absolute catastrophe and a failure. We agree on that.
Fantastic. I'm glad I changed your mind on that.
Okay, yeah, cool. All right. What else do you have?
I don't know. What else could we talk about? I actually wanted to say this. I wanted to say, when we did have our last conversation, I remember when you were talking to Hassan one time. I included this in one of my videos that I did. I don't know if you ever saw it, but you guys brought me up to let's dunk on Nuance Bro, and you're like, oh, I hate people like that, blah blah blah. And I was like, okay, no problem. But I will say the conversation that we did have, where I had my position, you had your position.
Isn't it a good point to wait for the WHO declaring a pandemic? Well, no, because you want to take measures in the meantime. So other countries, for instance, were ramping up testing. And also the United States was months late to implement any kind of social distancing measures or to coordinate responses between federal, state, and local governments for closing stores. We were so late to everything. When you compare us to other Southeast Asian countries, it's embarrassing. The response that the U.S. had was appalling. This is uncontestable.
Talking about
uncontestable, non-contestable, incontestable, uncontestable, right?
Responsibility and things like that. I will say I feel like I've changed my position on that, where I actually agree with you more on that position. I just want to make that clear.
Well, thanks a lot, Ben.
I don't know if you necessarily changed my mind on it, but I just wanted to let you know what I thought about. And although I will say it seems like maybe you changed your position with the whole N-word thing.
Okay. All right. Well, we've got all of our claims written down. I'll source out and we'll do all this shit later. I don't feel like doing more of this today. We'll probably do it tomorrow. The U.S. didn't ban travel from Italy until they had 18,000 confirmed cases. Yeah, no, I know. Yeah. What are you going to do? Comes out and makes a rape accusation. If they have one or two friends that kind of go oh yeah, I think that happened, then whoever is accused is a rapist.